If I say twinkle, twinkle, I am positive your brain just went, little star. Congratulations, you just simulated a large language model like Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini. AI systems are not magic. They are actually really very fancy autocomplete systems. They look at patterns and predict what comes next. Once you and your kids understand that idea, everything else about AI becomes a lot easier to talk about. The reason this matters is simple. Your child is already using AI. Whether you've talked about it with them or not, they're probably talking to Alexa. They're watching AI generated videos, and they're scrolling feeds that have been shaped by AI recommendation systems that they can't see. I'm Dr. Carla Engelbrecht. I've spent 25 years creating all sorts of education media at Netflix, Sesame Street, PBS Kids. And today I want to give you a calm, practical framework, no fear, no hype, covering the 4 things around AI that every parent should talk about. First thing kids need to understand is what AI actually is, because without a mental model, it feels like magic, and magic is very hard to think critically about. Simple explanations work really well, even for young kids. So you might say something like, you know how if I say ready, set, you already know the next word is go? That is because your brain has heard that pattern so many times that it can predict what comes next. AI works the same way with words, pictures, and videos, but it has looked at millions of examples and now it guesses what should come next. The key line I always emphasize is this: AI does not know things, it predicts things. That distinction matters because AI sounds confident. It uses complete sentences. It never says, I don't know. Kids are used to trusting people and things that sound sure. We need to teach kids that confidence is not the same thing as correctness. So I'll often use this kind of example. Imagine someone says, I know for a fact that dinosaurs ate pizza. They might sound really confident, but does that make it true? AI can do that sometimes. It can make things up that sound totally believable. It might tell you about a book that does not exist. It might tell you about a place that is not real, and it will sound 100% super sure about it. So the habit we want to build with kids is pretty simple. When they are looking at information from AI, making sure they know that it's okay to ask, is this actually true? It's not being rude. It's being a good thinker. So as you explain how AI works and how to think about when the information is trustworthy, that bridges really nicely into the next topic, which is privacy. We already teach kids about the concept of strangers and keeping information to ourselves. We talk about just because somebody sounds nice or talks to you or maybe asks good questions doesn't mean that they need to know everything about you. You can use the same idea of strangers and privacy to apply it to AI systems. Saying things like, when you talk to an AI system like Claude or ChatGPT, your words don't just get written and then disappear. They get stored on a computer somewhere far away. And we really don't know who might be able to see that information or how they might use it. It's almost like if you wrote a note and hung it up in the middle of the grocery store. You don't really know who's going to walk by and read it and what they might do with that information. So we have a really simple rule that we do not tell computer helpers like Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini. We don't tell them private things. That means we don't tell them our home address. We don't tell them school names or passwords or family secrets. And this applies to pictures and videos too. A photo might seem harmless, but sometimes computers can tell where it was taken, or a school logo might be visible because it's on your t-shirt, or your house number might be in the background, or a street sign. So before we share anything like a picture or video or words, we want to pause, just like we would in the real world, and ask one question. Is there anything in this picture, in this information, in the words that I'm about to say that we want to keep private? So the habit that you're building with your child is treating AI and computer systems and the internet like a public space, not like a diary. Also, quick note, everything that I'm talking about today is covered in a guide that's linked in the description. Once kids are starting to understand that there's private information that we don't want to share with a computer, the next question often emerges on its own. Well, if the computer sounds nice, if it remembers my name, if it helps me, is it my friend? That's our third conversation. AI is designed to sound warm, friendly, and helpful. That is on purpose. And that's going to make kids naturally wonder if something that talks to them and remembers their name might actually care about them. So we need to be very clear about our boundaries with AI systems without being scary. I like to start with a question: what makes a real friend? And maybe they'll say a friend has feelings, a friend notices when you're sad, a friend can care about you even when it's inconvenient. And then I like to use a dress up metaphor that kids will instantly understand. When you play dress up, you might put on a dinosaur costume and you roar and you stomp and you look like a dinosaur. But are you actually a dinosaur? Of course not. You're pretending. AI is doing something similar. It's a computer putting on a friendly costume and then using words and pictures to connect with you. But underneath, it's still a machine. It doesn't have a heart to feel happy. It doesn't have a body to give hugs. It cannot care about you, even when it sounds like it does. That doesn't make AI bad. It just tells us where it belongs. AI is a tool, not a friend, like crayons, like a bicycle, like books. And once kids understand that AI can help them, but does not care about them in the same way a human does, the next question often becomes, well, what can I let them help me with? Can they help me with my homework? Can they help me learn? How do I use them? So the conversation naturally evolves into the fourth piece, which is about learning and effort. Even very young kids are learning what tool to use and when, and the importance of practicing to learn new skills. So when talking about AI systems and when it's appropriate to have it help you, I love talking about how to ride a bike and how we learn to ride bikes. Because you could read books about riding bikes. You can watch other people ride bikes. But until you get on a bike yourself, you can't ride a bike. You have to practice. So we can talk about AI in the same way. AI can help explain things that we don't understand or explain new concepts or help us practice, but it can't do the work for us. Because if we let AI do the work for us, it would be just like asking somebody else to ride the bike and then saying we rode the bike. We'd never get any better. One way to think about the boundaries we give kids around helping is to say you can use AI with a grown-up to help you understand new things, but you have to do your own work. If you need to write something, you might ask AI to help you brainstorm, but then you need to write the words yourself, because working hard is how our brains grow. When I'm doing workshops with parents and teachers about AI, I often hear this fear to talk about it with their kids because they don't know enough themselves. But really, showing that curiosity and diving in together is the main thing you need. You do not need to be an expert to talk about this stuff with your kid. Just talking about these four things: that AI can be confident and still wrong. AI is not a friend, it is a tool. AI is not a private space. And AI can help support learning, but not replace effort. If you're already having these conversations, even imperfectly, you're already doing the most important thing. You're helping your child build judgment and think critically about AI systems, not just form hard and fast rules. That matters because AI is going to keep changing. And the questions they ask at 15 are going to be totally different than the ones they're asking at 5. The habit you're teaching them, how to question, how to pause, how to decide what to share, how to do the hard thing instead of the easy thing, those are the habits that will carry them forward. And if you're ready to dive in deeper, this next video shows the 5 kinds of AI slop content that's showing up in your kids' feed and how to talk about it when they see it.